before we get into these shows, like you mentioned, this isn't the most captivating storyline week in New Japan history. So, but we are going to get into some stuff. Colin mentioned this. The Tanahashi and Nakamura headlines. Let's go ahead and get into that. We also have Stardom and CMLL working together. So Jesse Hyde mentions this. The Tanahashi and the WWE could be talking about Nakamura and Tanahashi final match at Wrestle Kingdom 20 because the Tanahashi final match opponent announcement will be talked about. And we expect news on that fairly soon, probably at the Gifu show or shortly thereafter, Jeremy. What we have heard is that first of all, it's highly unlikely is the phrase I was using on that. The WWE would let him go ahead and do that if he is still under contract to WWE. Mm-hmm. I've heard that there have been discussions, but it's still a fairly long shot. What's your impression of what you've heard regarding Shinsuke Nakamura, his status with WWE, and a possibility of him being Tanahashi's final opponent at Wrestle Kingdom 20?
Okay, so you and I, probably about 5 months ago, whittled down a list of 5 people that could possibly be Tanahashi's final opponent. And
or would make for interesting ones. Not the only 5 people that could do it, but yeah.
That list has gotten very much smaller the last couple of weeks.
Yes,
that list included Ibushi. It included Omega. It included Naito. It included Okada. And the dark horse 5% chancer was Nakamura because of the WWE alignment with Noah, because of the AEW relationship, just for a variety of reasons. It just wasn't going to work out. Right. Now, we had talked about it on the show that WWE was coming to Sumo Hall this past weekend. It came up when the EO Sky is going to have 3 big matches at Sumo Hall this month. Which was basically the impetus of that conversation. But Nakamura was also there. He was a babyface. And while he was there, he emulated the Tanahashi goodbye at the show. And then Tanahashi reacted on social media. And that began questions among people trying to figure out what was going on. The prevailing rumor by about Friday afternoon Pacific evening time was that it was more of a possibility than ever that Nakamura could do this. The reason for that being is, yes, he is still under contract with WWE, but he had provisional rollouts that allowed him carve out to wrestle in Japan if he wanted to request it for whatever reason. That still required WWE approval. This is what I was basically given to understand. So we are at an impasse here where Nakamura wants to do it. The company, New Japan, is very quietly trying to make this happen. And I don't want to say anything more because I don't want to be the kind of person that jeopardizes this by talking about it too much. You know what I mean? Like, this is very clearly Tanahashi, Nakamura, and WWE having this negotiation. When Fightful was doing an article about the boys, like, not thinking this happened, they can think it might not happen, but I'm very skeptical that that conversation is at that level of the promotion and not at the secret top level. So my understanding is that Nakamura is on the board. It's not likely, but it's possible, with Okada being the fallback. So yeah, that's where we're at. It's not like over 50% that it's Nakamura. It's more like it was 5%, and now we're in the 30 to 40%, but it's a very interesting 30 to
40%. It's a real challenge. USVA guy kind of hits it in the head. There are massive politics in play with Nakamura. Absolutely. Especially if he's still under WWE contract, looks like he's going to be. Otherwise, I don't think all this yapping would be necessary. He could just go out of contract and then decide if he wants to do the show or not. The issue comes that WWE has shown zero proclivity to help anybody else except the companies that it's already working with, maybe have an eye on acquiring at some point. You know,
so what would they want?
Well, I don't think there is anything that New Japan could give them that they would want that would help them, and that in a way that would make them want to do it, which is why I'm still leaning hard toward this not happening. I would love for it too. I just don't see anything that New Japan could offer WWE that would get it to them. And here's what I'm saying on that. They have worked with Noah. So they send talent to Noah for some international experience. Charlie Dempsey.
Hank and Tank are heading off. Sure.
Yeah, I think Charlie Dempsey was over there at Wrestle Odyssey, and they have some people that have worked with them before. Noah on the women's side, they work with Marigold, of course. Io Sky and Mayu Iwatani is coming up this weekend. Work with they have allowed people to go over and work with Rossi and Marigold. They have allowed people to go over there. Nothing has come back the other way. And so that's kind of who they work with. And of course, AAA, I've talked about what I think their plans are for AAA, which is to get it a TV deal on one of the Spanish language networks in the United States and not try to compete with CMLL because it's a different business model. But if they can get a pretty fat TV contract to air some Lucha Libre programming on Spanish language television, I think they'll jump at that chance. They've had their eye on Japanese companies before. The key with Noah, it's tricky because Noah's parent company is actually larger than Bushiroad. If you look at the conglomerate that owns Noah, which also owns a couple other wrestling companies, that company is huge, bigger than Bushiroad. So you have to kind of convince them to take it off their hands. It's not like they can just write a big check and turn their heads. I suppose they could, but it would take a fairly big one and right now Noah is actually warming up. So it's a bit on the upswing compared to previous years. So it doesn't seem like that's in the works. They might acquire, but it does seem like global domination is the obvious goal for WWE, always has been, but it seems more in reach than it is before. So I don't see any motivation from WWE's side whatsoever to help New Japan. What would that be? And don't tell me talent. They don't care. They just grow their own.
No, everybody, this is all politics, like Esteban said. But, okay. We got it like this. WWE, if they were to say yes, has an opportunity to position themselves as the one that is the bigger benefactor to New Japan during their biggest show, while AEW is providing Takeshita on their end. Number one, that big just hear me out here. Hear me out here. Their big timing of Tony, while Tony Khan, he has every reason to be upset. And he had every reason to be like, well, this sucks. But at the same time, you have seen him in the past in the sanctity of respecting wrestling legacies, doing things that make no sense, like giving footage to WWE to tribute other wrestlers in the last couple years when WWE is not doing anything like that. He bent over backwards to make Tanahashi the focal point of that forbidden door. I am not willing to say that Tony will flat out not accommodate this event for Tanahashi and just kind of parlay and take like a shot from WWE over in Japan and just be the respectable partner from AEW that is honoring Tanahashi like he has tried to do this entire time, while WWE is going to use this as an opportunity to like take shots at Tony and make them look like the smaller partner, or that they're the bigger like fish in this whole Tanahashi scenario, whereas it could in their mind make Tony look smaller. And they are very petty, and they won't do anything to undercut Tony Khan in any way on any forum for whatever reason. And that is the only X factor for me as to why WWE might possibly agree to this, is that it'd be a way to stick it to Tony Khan.
I just don't think they care all that much, and they especially might not need
Tony.
to. Oh, sure they do, but they do. But I think WWE might also look at it like this: if we put one of our wrestlers on this show that also has AEW wrestlers on it and also has New Japan wrestlers on it, it is in WWE's eyes. Keep in mind, I'm talking about what is being discussed in the halls in Stamford, Connecticut. If we put our guy on this show, all we're doing is saying that these cute little wrestling companies are on our level when they're not. And I think that by doing that, and they say, "Oh yeah, you're worthy of being in compared to or equal to WWE," and I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they want to do that. I think that they consider it below them to do it, and it's just one of those things where I just don't see them doing anything to help anybody that's not beholden to them. I mean, they'll help TNA, but they kind of need TNA a little bit. We mentioned that they need TNA to keep some of the regulators off their backs. I just don't see any motivation to stick it to Tony Khan. Maybe, but they're sticking it to Tony Khan in a very, very different and much more important way.
They'll do it in any way that they can.
Yeah,
like they are pouring money and throwing money away just to make Tony Khan's life miserable. And they will look for any way to just make it more difficult for him to run his business, including interfering with his participation in Wrestle Kingdom. And I think that New Japan rightfully should be selfish in this case and do everything they can to get as much star power. And if Nakamura is on that show, he's in the main event and he's winning. So it's not even an optic of anything other than that. There's no Takeshita is in the main event here. Everything about it is going to make AEW looking like the number 2 to WWE at the biggest event in Japan in years. That's where I think this strategy is coming from. It is a big timing effort, and they see an opportunity to do so. And again, this is 30 to 40% possibility. Yeah. This is not 75 to 80. But if you're looking for a reason, if you're looking for why, the reason would be it's whatever would give WWE an advantage. They're not altruistic. They're not a giving company. They're going to want something. And if that price is something New Japan is willing to pay, they're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a dollar figure for that or anything. And Nick Reeves has it. He said the potential to drive some sort of political wedge between NJPW and AEW is the only thing I could see WWE getting out of this. But again, I don't think WWE cares. The money they're making, the money that New Japan brings, the money that AEW brings in, it's a pittance to TKO and WWE. And it aligns with how petty they've been toward AEW this year in particular. Sure. Yeah. I mean, but here in this country, I just don't know if New Japan even registers on the radar like that. Nick just says if the goal is to simply stick it to Tony, then utilizing Shinsuke, who they don't put on TV anymore, is a low-risk way to do it. It feels very much in line with their current approach to AEW. Well, you guys might be right. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm trying to figure out the motive. I always look at things with WWE was how does it help them? Because it's the only way they think.
Yeah. That is 100% what I've been thinking. And
I just don't see anything that they would, not anything they would bother with.
I mean, I had this conversation with Dave, and I was just if WWE is going to let Nakamura do this, because that's what it comes down to, is Nakamura can request it, it's legally in his contract. WWE has to approve it, but why would they approve it? If they have to approve it, they're going to want something out of it. And that's the part where you really have to get to the nitty gritty of what are they going to want?
Yeah, and how does putting Nakamura on the show help or hurt? Excuse me. I understand the idea that they're very petty toward AEW and they're doing things that might even cost them money in order to hurt AEW because they think long term that's the better play if there is not another company that can match the salary structure. That's the one thing Tony Khan can do that can mess up WWE is he can affect the salary structure. He gives people another place to go, so they have to pay the wrestlers more to keep them, right? So getting rid of him is optimum. TNA, perfect. Another company that is of absolutely no threat to them financially, and they can't affect the salaries. They can't drive them up. The thought on that is how would sending Nakamura there hurt AEW, which is the only question you really need to ask. And I just don't see an answer for that in a way that WWE would say, yeah, let's do it. I just don't. How would sending him over there to be part of this big show? And Chris Charlton was saying almost 30,000 tickets sold. How would having him there hurt AEW? If winning the main event, who cares? That's not the point, is it? It's all about how can you hurt their money. And
if WWE with their Reach gets footage from the Tokyo Dome of Nakamura in the main event, and they start talking about how they drew, like how they helped draw like a record.
Nakamura drew 30,000 people.
Yes, you know, like.
But who cares? Totally, like, how does that help anything in the United States
because
or
it's
anywhere
like,
else?
When people start talking about it, they're like, oh, they're big in Japan. It's just one more little thing that big time them and makes all other wrestling in North America seem small.